You join us for the third meeting of the 2016-17 FF2M Asia series, and it's the first of two visits in Bahrain. This particular one will be at the Grand Prix layout, the second longest layout of the Bahrain Sakir International Circuit. Round 5 will be taking place on the outer circuit, with Dubai in between the two. But a quick recap of the previous race, and Chuck Bucknam for OLM Racing became the 101st different FF2M winner, with Esteban Ocon taking his second sprint race victory of the series, and he currently leads the championship thanks to his 2 wins, although tied on points with his French rival Pierre Gasly. They're both on 18 points each. And then third in the championship, another French speaker, Charles Leclerc, on 16 points, with fourth in the championship belonging to the Suzuka feature race winner Chuck Bucknam. But Chuck Bucknam won't be racing in this particular meeting because it clashes with the FF2M series, which also is taking place at the Sakir Grand Prix circuit, all of which supporting the 2016 Bahrain Grand Prix in FF1M. Here's a look at the layout, and there's quite a few long straights. The 4 in total. You've got the main straight, then you've got the tight hairpin of turn 1, which poses as a good overtaking opportunity, and then another long straight into turn 4, another good overtaking opportunity. And it's Esteban Ocon who effectively leads the championship now, having taken pole position ahead of Genjo Se. Alexander Albon an impressive third on the grid ahead of Daniel Kvyat. Then we got Sergei Sorokin 5th for Monolith Racing System ahead of George Russell, who's been a bit unlucky this season so far. Benjamin Pryor will start 7th, he took pole position at Suzuka last time out. Joining him is Sebastian Buemi, and that is who is replacing Chuck Bucknam for this meeting. Row 5 is Lucas Auer and Mitch Evans, then Nikita Mazepin 11th ahead of Lance Stroll 12th. Izuki Yoshida 13th ahead of Charles Leclerc, who's not had a particularly good qualifying this time around. Have Willows Jr. gone for hard tyres in qualifying, which makes them on sprints and softs for the feature race, because Leclerc and Gasly 14th and 15th. Antonio Giovinazzi 16th, and it's Pascal Wehrlein, Nick de Vries, Pietro Fittipaldi, Jack Aitken, and then the back row filled by Callum Ilott and Santino Ferrucci in the other liquid target. So yes, Chuck Bucknam not racing in this meeting, which is a bit of a shame, because he's in the championship fight if he was racing in all races. But the 5 lights go out for the feature race of the Bahrain Grand Prix FF2M meeting, and Esteban Ocon away from pole position in the lead so far, but under braking for turn 1 is Genjo Se going to have a look. You thought about it, but backed out of it sensibly. Now, further back, there's a traffic jam and a few stoppers as the field sorts themselves out at that very, very tight first corner, the tight right hairpin. Further back, we've got Sebastian Buemi, series returnee, who's had a good start. Now he's moving up into 5th place ahead of Sergei Sorokin in that monolith. OLM on the move in the form of Sebastian Buemi, looking to shine in his one-off appearance. Well, 2 off appearances, because he's racing in the sprint shortly afterwards. On board with Genjo Se, who looks pretty quick at this stage of the race in the GRM Junior. And it's good to see GRM Junior doing quite well in the FF2M series this time around. Pietro Fittipaldi down in last and on hard tyres. I'm not expecting him to have a particularly good race. But anyway, Genjo Se is doing well so far. He's on the hard tyres, as is Esteban Ocon and Alexander Albon. So Albon taking softs for the qualifying session. That would explain why he qualified pretty well in 3rd, but through the fast sequence of corners before turn 13, which spells the beginning of the 3rd and final sector, and Genjo Se is on the move. He's looking to try and take the lead away from Esteban Ocon, and notice how we're racing under floodlights. That seems to be the way forward in Bahrain, as into the lead goes Genjo Se for GRM Junior ahead of Esteban Ocon, now down to 2nd in that Spaniel, who by the way sit 3rd in the Teams Championship on 18 points, and 18 points all scored by Esteban Ocon. In fact, make that 20 points because Ocon got pole position. Here's Benjamin Pryor up the inside of George Russell. Interestingly, Pryor also on the hard tyres. Doesn't really speak well for his qualifying performance. Well, he actually qualified okay in 7th place, and he's on the move for now. Here is Nick de Vries. He's having a look up the inside of Lance Stroll into the final corner, and tagging the Canadian and spinning and blocking the circuit. Possibly once again, depending on who caused a bit of a traffic jam at the start, but Nick de Vries and Lance Stroll getting themselves into a bit of bother. on board with is that it's a Gajira 2 we're on board with, and I think it is Daniel Kvyat looking to make a move on Alexander Albon's third place. Kvyat on the soft tyres, so he is looking to do quite well in this race, and he's up to third place at the moment. Now, Benjamin Pryor versus Sergei Sorokin into the final corner. Benjamin Pryor taking a bit of caution this time around, unlike Nick de Vries it was Lance Stroll. And meanwhile, Alex Albon now about to lose fourth place to Sebastian Buemi going into the first corner. And Buemi taking that fourth place. He's on a bit of a march. He's showing he's lost none of his speed since racing in the FF2M. Oh, contact between Lucas Auer and Charles Leclerc going through the hairpin. And Lucas Auer dropping a position to the soft shod Willows Jr. of Charles Leclerc. Now Gasly also on soft tyres. And that would explain why they qualified quite a way down compared to how they should be, because they took hards for qualifying and qualified way down the order. Now they're on softs, and Leclerc is on the move and is now in the top 10. So, going down the final back straight, there's a few back straights, this is the third of them, into the final corner, and taking 9th place is Charles Leclerc, and here is Gasly versus Auer, contact between the two, and Gasly has suffered quite badly from that, as has Lucas Auer, and trying to rejoin a circuit, and somehow doing a switch back off the circuit, and taking the position eventually from Lucas Auer, but a bit of a messy overtake there. And we're looking at Sergei Sorokin, is that? Or is that his teammate, Mitch Evans? I think it was Evans taking a position away from Itsuki Yoshida for 10th place. Here is a battle for the final point between George Russell and Charles Leclerc into the final corner. Is there going to be contact between the two? No. Charles Leclerc taking the Benjamin Pryor approach and backing off a little bit and getting a good run coming out of the corner. Now they're side by side going down the start-finish straight. And Leclerc just taking 8th place as he crosses the line, but here comes one of the, it's a med sign, making 2 positions. It's Mitch Evans. That's a good effort from Evans, taking 2 birds with 1 stone. And Leclerc, the Monegasque bird, has to do it all over again against George Russell. So before, I think I had the flow interrupted as I was talking about the Spaniel team, who are now on 20 points, 3rd in the championship. But here is a Spaniel being attacked by Daniel Kvyat into the final corner, and this time around no contact despite side by side, and here comes Sebastian Buemi looking to try and take advantage of that. He's in the slipstream of Kvyat going down the main straight and crossing the line to start their 6th lap. The top 2 to 3 to 4, all separated by less than half a second, but Sebastian Buemi hard on the brakes, taking 3rd place away from Daniel Kvyat. And Buemi, if he continues at this rate, he could take a sensational victory in his substitute race taking the place of Chuck Bucknam, who became, well, let's have a look at this Danish racing car of Pascal Wehrlein, having a look at George Russell, who's struggling a bit on those hard tyres, coming out of turn 4 into the S section of 5, 6 and 7, side by side through there, but George Russell hanging on. So let's resume back to Spaniel, 20 points. 2nd in the championship is STV Racing on 24 Willows. Looking at one of their drivers here, Charles Leclerc trying to overtake Mitch Evans for 8th place, but Leclerc and Gasly doing pretty well in their season for Willows Jr. They lead the championship on 34 points, 10 ahead of STV, and Leclerc being re-overtaken by Mitch Evans going into the first corner. So good battling between those two. And Chuck Bucknam, he became the 101st different FF2M winner. For reference, the first ever FF2M season, FF2M winner, that should be for Chuck Bucknam, but yeah, the first ever FF2M season, 1997. Let's see Sebastian Buemi first, making a move on Esteban Ocon, but room left by the Frenchman against the Swiss driver, and Kvyat looking to try and make a move back on Sebastian Buemi down the main straight, but Buemi in the slipstream of Ocon. And is Daniel Kvyat going to do what I think Mitch Evans did earlier on and take 2 in 1? No, he's choosing to hang back as Sebastian Buemi takes 2nd place off of Esteban Ocon into the first corner. So, first ever FF2M season, 1997, and the first race took place at San Marino. That was won by Juan Pablo Montoya, having beaten pole sitter Heinz-Harald Frentzen to the win. The 50th winner, Michaela Leishin for Darkfire, and Kvyat taking 3rd from Ocon into the final corner. Yeah, Darkfire's only FF2M season. It's a conglomerate of Exolite, and Michaela Leishan took a victory, the 50th FF1M winner, at the Abu Dhabi sprint race. I'll tell you about the 100th different winner in a moment as Esteban Ocon fights back against Daniel Kvyat into the first corner and retakes that third place. But the 100th different winner was Mason Taylor, and that came at the 2016 Hungarian feature race for AJ Motorsports, and it's a shame that Taylor's not on the grid because he definitely deserves an FF2M drive. Leclerc making contact and spinning, that was against Mitch Evans for 8th place, and Evans getting away with that and a wheel off. Whose wheel has come off? Is that a Shaker Mick Jr.? Is that Yoshida once again? It could well be Yoshida, and Leclerc reversing right into the path of, I think it was Lance Stroll, and Lucas Auer getting delayed in that as well. So carnage at the final corner. George Russell into the pits for a replacement front wing, and indeed it was Itsuki Yoshida. He's had a messy return to FF2M as Russell gets a new front wing and some new tyres put on, as Lance Stroll does the same thing. So both of those on the hard tyres, they've had the race scuppered quite badly. So Russell should be going to the end of the race, but his quest for points has been buggered, let's call it that, by Leclerc and Evans' ill-judged battle. And Lance Stroll exiting the pits on a red light, is that? I think that must be green, but here comes Charles Leclerc back on the move up against Lucas Auer. This is into turn 4, and taking that 14th place away from Lucas Auer. Maybe Leclerc could rescue a point or two out of this and be on pole position for the sprint race, which will be coming up on the following day. But he'll have a tough ask from 14th. So Daniel Kvyat now resuming his attack on Esteban Ocon. This is the battle for 3rd place. Genjo Se continues to lead. He's now 8.8 seconds ahead of Sebastian Buemi, and Buemi is 4 or so seconds ahead of this battling duo, which for now is being taken by Daniel Kvyat as he takes 3rd ahead of Esteban Ocon, and Ocon choosing to make a pit stop at the end of his 12th lap. This will be going on to lap 13. So looking to try and do the undercut on at least Daniel Kvyat, maybe Sebastian Buemi, depending on how good new hard tyres are compared to used softs. Temporarily that will move Alexander Albon up to 4th place ahead of Benjamin Pryor. Ocon may drop down behind Sergei Sorokin, possibly Mitch Evans as well, and Pierre Gasly, just keeping an eye out on the timing tower on the left as he trundles down the pit lane at 80 kilometres an hour. Off goes the pit lane speed limiter, and don't cross the white line, but Ocon knows well. He rejoins ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, so that Nikita Mazepin moving up into 9th place for now, as Genjo Se is about to make a pit stop, so responding to the Esteban Ocon pit stop at the end of the 13th lap rather than at the start of the 13th lap. So is that going to put Sebastian Buemi into the lead of the race? It may well do. Let's see if there are any other mechanics out on the pit road. It looks as if it's just the GRM Junior mechanics, so Genjo Se the only pitter on this lap, unless more crews will be coming out for more drivers. But for now, Sebastian Buemi takes the lead of the race ahead of Daniel Kvyat, and I'm expecting Alexander Albon to temporarily move up into 4th place unless the Thai driver makes a pit stop, which he doesn't. Alexander Albon now up to 3rd. Then Benjamin Pryor up to 4th for now. The pit stops are in force. Genjo Se rejoins in 5th, so more than comfortably ahead of Esteban Ocon, who is somewhere ahead of this battling duo for 10th. It's Pascal Wehrlein taking a position away from Nikita Mazepin. And we've had another pit stop. Who was that? I think Benjamin Pryor's has made a pit stop. He's down to 14th place. And on board with one of the Willows juniors, looking to try and make a move. Is this Evans versus Gasly? As Sebastian Buemi comes into the pits, was leading, now he's temporarily handed that over to Daniel Kvyat. And true leader though is Genjo Se, as Pierre Gasly takes a position away from Mitch Evans. That's 6th for now. And Esteban Ocon looming up to these two as well, so he's not doing too badly on his new hard tyres. And now up alongside Mitch Evans going into turn 4 as Antonio Giovinazzi coming into the pits for STV Racing. STV had a good meeting last time at Suzuka. Pryor took a pole position and a 2nd place, and Giovinazzi took 3rd in the following sprint race. That's Santino Ferrucci getting mullered by the Gajera 2 and losing a wheel in the process. Which one was that? I think it was George Russell. They're trying to recover George Russell. And there's nearly contact going into turn 10, I think that is. Or is that turn 11? I think it's turn 11. It's the exit of the parallel to start-finish straight. And looking to try and make a move on Pierre Gasly is Sebastian Buemi. That's a good run coming out of 13, now into 14, which really is the final corner, but there's a small kink after that, which can catch some drivers out, but not catching these drivers out so far. And Sebastian Buemi now getting up alongside Pierre Gasly. Daniel Kvyat into the pits, I just saw a few seconds ago, which means that Genjo Se retaking the lead of the race. That was Daniel Kvyat exiting the pits right behind this lot, so Kvyat doing quite well to stay with Esteban Ocon, but Ocon has jumped him. However, Ocon is on older hard tyres, Kvyat on newer softs, so I'd be expecting Kvyat to make some progress, but Ocon is seeing to that. He's trying to overtake the Willows Junior of Pierre Gasly, and not exactly for position because Gasly's yet to pit, but that is eventually for the final podium spot. Oh, big lock-up. Ocon going wide, and Daniel Kvyat taking advantage of that. Big mistake that from Esteban Ocon, and it's cost him track position on Daniel Kvyat. Now, Sergei Sorokin has got Pierre Gasly coming up alongside him into the final corner, and Gasly, that's on his in-laps, taking a position away from Sorokin. And into the pits goes Pierre Gasly. Now, Alexander Albon also into the pits. So, not many more pit stops to go. As into the first corner, that was an STV making a move, I think, on... That was Alexander Albon, Pryor versus Albon. But here's Kvyat versus Sorokin into the 11 corner. And two Russians battling each other for third place, but it goes to Daniel Kvyat at the moment. Benjamin Pryor now making a move on Pascal Wehrlein as the final corner, and Pryor being left space by the German of Wehrlein, but that's cost Pryor some momentum. Now he has got Alexander Albon looking to take 8th. It's actually for 6th place because we've got a couple of pitters. Pascal Wehrlein coming into the pits, as is Mitch Evans. So this is a battle for 6th place going into the first corner, and it goes by the way of Alexander Albon in that Medsign 7 car. Nice to see Medsign's Canon sponsorship at play there. So, lap 20, it's Genjo Se who leads by a big margin from Sebastian Buemi, 22 seconds. Been a storming drive from Genjo on those hard tyres to build up that much of a gap. Obviously, Buemi, Kvyat and Ocon were battling so hard with each other, it's just allowed Se to get away from them. Or maybe that earlier pit stop of Se will have helped out as well. So we've got Danish Racing tagging the back of Lucas Auer. It's Nick De Vries getting involved in his second incident of the day into that final corner. Or the evening, rather, because we are under floodlights. But at least the other Danish Racing's on the move. That's Pascal Wehrlein taking 10th place off of Sergei Sorokin. And we've only got 2 drivers yet to pit. They've Nikita Mazepin, who's up to 7th, and Lucas Auer in that Shake and Bake Junior. Now, a few laps later, they've made their pit stops, but we're looking at Charles Leclerc taking 11th place off of Mitch Evans. Leclerc, how far back is he off of points? Well, Wehrlein's just in front of him, so it's doable, but a bit of an ask, as Alexander Albon looking to take 4th place away from Esteban Ocon. Look at this drive from Alexander Albon. Ocon having made that earlier pit stop, maybe suffering a bit with old tyres, but could have 5th place sewn up. Here is Leclerc versus Giovinazzi into the final corner. Oh, I thought there was space left, but Leclerc just drove right into the Italian. And that is going to give Mitch Evans an opportunity to take 10th place if he's got the momentum, which he certainly does. And Mitch Evans looking for 10th place off of Charles Leclerc going into the first corner. Later on the brakes, and that is top 10 for the Kiwi. And Giovinazzi down to 12th thanks to Leclerc's optimism, shall we say, going into the final corner. And what we're looking at is this Leclerc coming back at Mitch Evans, this time into the first. It's actually Leclerc on Mitch Evans. He attacked Giovinazzi earlier. Now he's attacking Mitch Evans into the first hairpin. That is for 10th place for the Willows Junior driver. The other Willows Junior's up in 7th at the moment for Pierre Gasly, and not far behind Benjamin Pryor. There is the battle, actually, right on cue. Pryor versus Gasly for 6th place. This is coming into the final corner. Pryor defending up the inside and Gasly not having much of it, but luckily Gasly gets it slowed down better, and Pryor running a bit wide at the apex has cost him 6th place. Up to 6th goes Pierre Gasly. How much of a slipstream has Pryor got? Can he attack back? He's trying to, but I don't think it's enough going into the first corner. Indeed it wasn't. So now Gasly versus Ocon. Look at this. Going into... That's turn 8. The right-hand hairpin after the S's. And now we've got a short straight before a very tricky double left of 9 and 10. You brake at the middle of 9 and it can lock up the tyres, which Ocon has done already. Now he's got to fend off his great French rival Pierre Gasly. It's Steve versus Pete, if you translate the names. As into turn 11 go the two Frenchmen. And meanwhile, lap 30, still Genjose leading. Buemi's been trimming the gap lap after lap, but Genjose had such a huge lead that it is just pacing himself, and unless something catastrophic happens to say, like an engine blow-up, which happened to George Russell, then Genjo's got this one wrapped up, as up the inside of Esteban Ocon goes Pierre Gasly for 5th place. That is another position gain for the Willows Junior, and that will do their Teams Championship bid quite a bit of good, as they already hold a fairly decent lead over STV Racing. And we have got an STV in the points, just the one, as we have got Charles Leclerc going up the inside of Sirotkin into the final corner. Again, just about space left, and Sirotkin hangs on to 9th place for now, but Leclerc the faster driver at this stage and must surely be in the slipstream. Yeah, he's closing in, he's going to go up the inside now. Sirotkin defending, moving to the middle, but Leclerc's already alongside into the first hairpin. And that's 9th place for Charles Leclerc. Now, I don't think there's enough laps left for him to catch up to Pascal Wehrlein, so Leclerc may well have to settle for a frustrating 9th. As we look at Genjose, who has been pretty serene ever since he took the lead off of Esteban Ocon, and then once Buemi, Kvyat and Ocon began fighting for second, Say has taken advantage of that, as well as an early-ish timed at the right time pit stop for more hard tyres, and as a result he is 18 or so seconds ahead of Sebastian Buemi, and victory goes to Genjose in the GRM Junior. Wait till he crosses the line, there you go. Well-deserved win that for Genjo, and back on form after a tricky season last time out. Sebastian Buemi, what a return to FF2M for him, deputising Chuck Bucknam taking 2nd place in the OLM Racing, and Daniel Kvyat taking 3rd for Gajera 2. The second on these soft tyres actually, Buemi was on the softs as well. And they weren't that far apart actually, just 3 seconds in the battle for second. And Alexander Albon takes a well-earned 4th for Medside 7, then Pierre Gasly 5th in the Willows Junior, closing the gap now on himself and Esteban Ocon, just by a point, or depending on who got the fastest lap, but for the moment let's say a point, but Ocon with his pole position, 1 point scored more than Pierre Gasly at this stage. Benjamin Pryor and Pascal Wehrlein complete the top 8. And further back, 2 non-finishers, both due to accident damage, one of which the Shake and Bake Junior of Itsuki Yoshida, who, as I've said before, a bit of a messy return to FF2M, and then Santino Ferrucci getting himself involved in a collision at the final corner. That final corner proving a bit of a hot spot for contact and collisions. Nick de Vries at least twice, the Dutchman in 15th place in the end, and last of the runners on the lead lap. So Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly both still tied for the championship, so that must mean that Pierre Gasly scored the fastest lap of the race. Genjose moving up to 3rd in the championship now, ahead of Charles Leclerc and Chuck Bucknam. Only 8 points behind Ocon and Gasly at this stage, so if Bucknam returns to some sort of good form in Dubai, which is the next meeting, then Bucknam could still challenge for the championship, even though he's missing this particular meeting. As for the Teams Championship, Willow's gap gets a bit bigger over STV Racing. It's now 39 to 26. That is 66% of the points that STV have got compared to Willows Junior. Spaniel and OLM now tied for third in the championship now, but Spaniel have 2 wins compared to OLM's 1. That's why they're ahead. Gajira 2 on 20 points, then GRM Junior on 18 points, then as for the rest of them, Danish Racing, Medsign 7, Monolith and Shake and Bake Junior, all having scored points, and the only team not to so far, the Liquid Target team. And that concludes the feature race. Of course, it'll be the sprint race afterwards. Join us for then.